Start by laying down on your back. As you get comfortable on your mat, either bend your knees, bringing the soles of your feet to the mat, or let your legs extend all the way out long, finding a place that feels comfortable for you. As you come to rest, let your eyes close and start to allow your attention to shift towards the feeling of your breath inside your body. Notice how as you bring the focus of your attention to the feeling of your breath, it changes and expands inside your body. As you make this shift from the outside world towards the experience of your inner body, let that help your body to truly come to rest. Let each exhale be an invitation to soften, to connect and ground a little more deeply down into the support of the earth. And as you let each exhale help you to feel a little more connected, a little more rooted, let each inhale expand up and out from that support. So that as you feel your inhale expand your body from the inside, what results is a sense of space, a sense of lightness through the inner layers of your body. Give yourself a couple more deep, full inhales and complete exhales here. And allow a sense of balance to build through the fabric of your body, poised between the opposites of your inhale and your exhale. When you feel like you're ready, let your eyes very gently open and reach your arms up towards the sky. As you reach up, interlace your fingers, flip your palms up towards the sky, and pause for a moment here. As we move towards a stretch for the shoulders, we want to start by stabilizing and supporting ourselves from our own center. To do this, connect in a little through your legs, especially through the outer hips, the outer thighs, and let that help you to broaden your sitting bones back and apart. As if you had a tail, extend out long from your tailbone and reach down a little through the bones of the legs until you feel the muscles in your center both turn on and your hips feel like they extend a little bit away from your shoulders. Then continuing that process of lengthening through the inside, get longer through the sides of the body. Draw your shoulders, your ribs towards your ears, and keeping that space, let the arms travel overhead. Continue to reach out through the legs as you extend out through the arms, reaching your palms away from your feet. Bring your focus to the center of your body again. Let your front ribs soften in and down towards the mat until you feel a little stronger, a little more powerful through your core. And use that to help you broaden across the upper back, keeping the ribs steady as you open into the arms and the shoulders. And give yourself a couple more breaths, reaching the palms away from you, continuing to extend down through the bones of the legs. Let the arms rise back up. Flip the palms back towards you and switch the cross of the fingers, interlacing with the opposite thumb on top. Balancing out through the shoulders, turn the palms back up. And again, connect in through the legs to extend out along your spine and lengthen through the back. Reaching down through the bones of the legs, draw the ribs, the shoulders towards the ears, soften the heads of the arm bones back, and melting the low ribs in and down, reach out through the arms. See if you can allow turning on the center of the body, connecting in through the ribs, through the outer hips, to help you keep your back broad, and to lengthen out not just through the crown of the head, but as if you were moving your heart away from your hips, so that you feel a little lighter, a little more spacious across your chest. Hug into the upper arms, reach the palms away from you. Let your hands float back up. Draw your knees in towards you. This time, wrap your arms around them. As you let the knees come in towards your chest, make a connection between the upper body and the lower body. Press your shins into your hands, hands into your shins, and use that to help you lengthen long along the spine. Hugging again with the outer hips, let that help you to reach your sitting bones back and apart again, turning on a little deeper feeling of connection and strength deep inside your body. We'll use that feeling of support to move through a twist, keeping the back feeling broad, the core feeling strong as we spiral the legs out towards the sides. Keeping the legs active, the sense of the sitting bones reaching away from the hips, release your arms out towards the sides, like a cactus with the elbows bent, or like a T if that's more comfortable. Root the right shoulder back and down until you feel the muscles in your upper back get active. Hug in with the legs, keeping the inner thighs strong. Start to spiral the knees over towards the left. As you rotate through the lower body, keep the right shoulder grounding down, pausing wherever you need to, letting that connection to the ground through the right shoulder define how far you rotate. Then accessing the strength of your center, guide the legs back up towards the sky. Root down through the left shoulder. Again, keeping the upper back active, hug in with the legs, broaden across your back here, and let the knees and the legs travel over towards the right. Again, stopping at the point where the right shoulder wants to lift. Guide the knees back up towards the sky. Root the right shoulder back and down, hugging in with the legs, spiral the knees over towards the left. Go slowly here so that you can really feel when that right shoulder wants to rise. Continue to anchor it down. Use an exhale to draw the knees back up so that you can root down through the strength of your core to move the legs with a little more freedom and lightness. Rooting the left shoulder back and down, zipping up through the belly, hugging in with the legs. The knees travel any amount over towards the right that feels good to you. Exhale the legs back up. One more time. Root the right shoulder back and down. As you connect into the upper back and hug in with the legs, focus on your back. Let it be both powerful and broad so that as you rotate along the spine, you do so with a sense of connection and support. As the knees come over towards the sides, ground down through the outer edge of the left hip and back through the right shoulder, activating that diagonal across your back. And with your exhale, root down through the low ribs, the belly button, the low belly to bring the knees back up towards the sky. One final time, ground the left shoulder, hug in with the outer hips, broaden through the low back, and as you zip up through your core, let the knees make their way over towards the right. Again, as you find whatever amount of rotation is right for you, root the outer edge of the right hip and the back of the left shoulder down into the mat. And staying powerful through your core, root down through the low ribs, the belly button, the low belly to guide the knees back up towards the sky. Release your feet down to the mat. And when you're ready, roll yourself over to one side and make your way into downward facing dog. As you make your way to down dog, first take a moment coming into tabletop position. As you place your hands, let them be shoulder width distance apart, wrist creases parallel, center line of the hands from the center of the wrist to between your first, your second, and third fingers pointing forward. And then pressing your hands down to stay connected up into the shoulders, take your hips up towards the sky. As you find your down dog, start with your knees bent and work your thighs and your belly towards one another to provide more support for your back to lengthen. Just as you did in the twist, hug in with the outer hips, activate the inner thighs, and let that help you to bring a sense of power and connection up through the layers of your core so that your back feels broad. You have more support to release through the shoulders. Continuing to press down into the balls of the feet, make your way forward to plank. As you shift forward, you may need to walk the hands forward a little bit so that your wrists end up right over top of the shoulders. Hug in with the hands, broaden the collarbones, feeling the shoulder blades hug towards your upper back. Working from the strength of your center, keep pressing down into the hands. Use your core to send your hips up and back. Again, bending into the knees to create that extra sense of length along your spine. Make your way forward to plank. As you find your plank, reach back through the legs, forward through the upper arm bones so that you're expanding the center of the body. And keep the upper arm bones pressing forward and towards the sky as you shift back to down dog. One more time. Shift your way forward to plank. And with your exhale, reach forward through the arm bones as you reach back through the hips and the thighs. One final time, make your way into plank. And then with the knees up or the knees down, come all the way down onto your belly. As you come down to the mat, reach your toes back behind you. And setting up for cobra pose, let your hands stay alongside your low ribs. Use the connection of your hands down into the ground here and your feet down into your mat to help you connect into the center of the body. As the toes click down, even the little toe, use that to help you find a place where you feel your waist, your belly draw in and your back body expand. And then do the same with the hands. Press down into the bases of all 5 fingers and glide your shoulders forward. And let that help you to connect more deeply into your upper back. And then merging those 2 connections together, let the low ribs soften in and down. Let the back ribs move towards the back of your head until you feel connected all the way along the spine. Use that inner guidance here to help you as you move towards the back bend. With your inhale, curl your way up. I want to focus on opening into the upper back here, keeping the low back feeling spacious. And as you exhale, soften and release. 2 more times. Let your exhale help you to re-establish and reconnect to keep the low back long. Let your inhale help you to create lightness first, as if you were floating up away from the mat, using your hands for support, not to rise. And then with your exhale, soften and release. One final time. Ground down through the pinky toes, zip up through the belly on the exhale. Use your inhale to flow your way up. And your exhale to soften and release. Untuck the toes. Make your way back, downward facing dog. Give yourself a couple deep breaths here. Hug in with the hands and broaden the shoulders away from the base of the neck. Into that space, let the arm bones rise a little higher so that you're really plugging the shoulders and the shoulder blades deeply onto the back. Keeping your spine nice and long, press down into the toes, reach your heels up towards the sky. Continuing to reach through the heels, let them soften towards the mat, any amount that feels right for you, keeping your low back long. Maybe the heels come down, maybe they simply extend in that direction. At the bottom of your exhale, walk your feet up to the top of the mat. As you find your forward fold, start with your feet hip-width distance apart. Press down a little into your fingers to keep connecting into the upper back, and hug in with your shins so that you can press your heels back and apart. As you expand through the inner thighs, have a glance at the knees. Make sure they stay pointing forward so that you're really expanding through your hips rather than rotating the legs. Keeping that support, grounding down through the heels. With your inhale, extend your spine forward, coming up onto your fingertips or bringing the hands up onto the knees. As you exhale and fold, draw up from your glutes, from your thighs, through your belly to fold your way down and in, feeling the low ribs connect, the center of your body get active. 2 more times. With your inhale, reach back through the heels and the hips as you extend forward through your heart. And as you exhale, draw up and in so that as you fold, the crown of your head is lengthening towards the mat. One more time, use your inhale to expand. And with your exhale, bow and fold. Bring your hands to your hips. Reach the heels back and apart, and hugging in with the elbows, come all the way up to standing. Release your hands down by your sides. As you exhale, spiral in towards center. Let releasing your breath help you to create a focused sense of energy and connection deep in the center of your body. As you inhale, keep that support. Breathe around that inner connection so that the shoulders glide back and the low back broadens without losing that support. As you exhale, spiral in. Let the movement of the shoulders forward help the ribs to draw back and the upper back to broaden. Activate the inner thighs. As you inhale, see if you can lift up from the arches of your feet through the heart. Let your collarbones broaden to connect into the upper back. With your exhale, spiral in. Press the heels back and apart here to start the process of rising up. And then let your inhale help you to broaden across that support. This time as the shoulders soften back, the arms rise up towards the sky. Use an exhale to bow and fold, keeping that sense of lift and lightness drawing up from your glutes, from your thighs, all the way towards the low ribs to extend both the legs and the spine. With your inhale, float your heart forward, and then bow and fold. Bring your hands to your hips. Hug in with the elbows. Keep reaching back through the heels so the backs of the legs stay active. Make your way back to stand. As you stand, feel down into your feet. Make sure the weight grounds down into your heels as well as into the toes. Keeping the legs active and strong, exhale, spiral in. See if you can find that stacked place for the ribs and the hips. Out of that support, lengthen all the way up through the crown of the head. Let the arms float towards the sky. Bow and fold. Soften at the knees here. Let your belly come towards your thighs so that your low back is long. Maybe working the legs towards straight, maybe keeping the knees bent. With your inhale, extend long. With your exhale, zip up through the belly. Let that help you to fold actively in. Bring the hands to the hips. Keep the backs of the legs strong as you rise. Use your hands with your exhale. Zip up through the belly, releasing your breath from the bottom towards the top. As you inhale, breathe around that support. Float the arms to the sky. Following your breath, make your way back into a forward fold. As you inhale and expand, see if you can keep a little of that support from the low ribs, softening them in to keep your back broad. As you exhale, zip up through your belly. This time adding a movement to the side. As you inhale, walk the upper body towards the left. Reach the right hip, right heel back behind you. As you inhale, broaden and expand through the center of the body. As you exhale, zip up through the belly, reaching the hips back, crown of your head forward. With your next exhale, come back to center. In the other direction, use your inhale to take the upper body towards the right, reaching that left hip, left heel back behind you. As you breathe here, let each inhale help you to broaden and expand. Take an exhale here to reach back through the hips, forward through the crown of the head, zipping up through the belly. And then let your next exhale bring you back to center, folding back in. Bring the hands to the hips. Hug in with the elbows, make your way back up to standing. Release your hands with your exhale. Connect towards your center. Aligning along that center. Float your arms towards the sky as you ground through the legs. With your exhale, make your way back down to touch the mat. Use your inhale to lengthen and extend. This time, bring your hands down. Walk your feet back, down dog. Reestablish that feeling of center, hugging in with the hands, in with the legs, and broaden actively across your collarbones and your inner thighs, lifting through the inner shoulders, broadening across the sitting bones. Holding that space, make your way forward to plank. Use an exhale to come all the way down to the mat, pulling the floor towards you as you lower. Reach back through the toes. This time, interlace your hands back behind your hips. Zip up through the belly, broaden the collarbones, letting the shoulders glide towards the ears, and soften the heads of the arm bones back. Drawing the low ribs in, connecting the ribs and the shoulder blade tips so that you feel more spacious around your heart. Use your inhale to rise, rooting the toes down, working from the back, maybe lifting the hands. And use your exhale to make your way back down. 2 more times. Keep the back broad here, belly button drawing in, using your back muscles to lift. And soften and release. 1 more time. Take a little bend at the elbows here. Really hug the shoulder blades into the back of your heart. And then make your way back down to rest. Release your hands. And when you're ready, make your way back down dog. Releasing into the calves. Find that space around the base of the neck. Firm the outer arms in and activate the power of your upper back and your ribs so that you feel steady. And then bringing the focus towards the feet, root down through the toes, reach the heels up towards the sky, extending the legs, feeling the calf muscles turn on, and keeping the toes pressing down to keep the calf muscles active. Slowly soften the heels down towards the mat. 2 more times. Press down into the toes as you lift the heels up, feeling the calf muscles engage, keeping the muscles engaged. Slowly release the heels towards the mat. 1 final time. Root through the balls of the feet. Extend up through the heels. Keep the roots of the toes so the calf muscles stay active for as long as you can. Soften and release the heels down towards the mat. Then making your way back to the top of the mat. Bring your feet back up to meet your hands. With your inhale, extend out long. With your exhale, zip up from center to bow back in. Taking the upper body to the left. Inhale, extend the body forward as you walk the hands towards the left. As you exhale, bow back in towards center. 1 final time towards the right. Inhale, as you extend, broaden across the low back. As you exhale, let the upper body come back towards the center of the mat. And bring your hands to the hips. Make your way back up to standing. 1 more time, release the hands. Use your exhale to spiral in. See if you can reach down through the heels here, anchoring yourself to the ground. And then grow out of that support so that you feel your heart rise as you extend through the arms. Bring your hands down through center as you fold. Keep the heels pressing back and apart. With your inhale, extend forward. Bring the hands down. Walk back, down dog. Make your way forward to plank. Come all the way down to the mat. Reach back through the toes. This time take the hands wider, coming up onto fingertips. Use this lift of the palms to connect more deeply into the upper back. Hug in with the outer hips. Broaden across the lower spine and make a connection between the back body and the front body so that you feel supported all along your spine. And then when you're ready, with your exhale, zip up through your core. With your inhale, hug the shoulder blades into the upper back. As if you were scooping up your heart, lift your chest any amount away from the mat that feels good. Keep hugging in a little with the ankles, reaching the pinky toenails down towards the mat. And maybe draw your heart forward, your hands back to curl a little more deeply. And then release. Make your way all the way back down to the mat. Bring the hands down. Take the hips back up. Downward facing dog. Create space first. Use your connection in from the right and the left to broaden the shoulders away from the mat, wrapping the triceps around towards the back. And do the same with the legs. Activate the inner thighs and then draw up from your glutes, your butt muscles, towards the low belly, establishing a sense of support and length. Keeping that work, turn the feet so that the toes point towards the right, heels towards the left. Start with the knees a little bent so that you can connect up from the arches of your feet into the center. And pressing out through the arms, start to extend up and back with that right hip. Once you've found a place that feels like it's expanding for you across the side body, give yourself a couple breaths. Come back to center. Pivot the feet the other direction. Again, start with the knees bent. I like to bring my heels down. Maybe it feels better with them lifted for you. Press down through the hands. Start to extend that left hip back behind you. And maybe the left leg works towards straight, maybe the knees stay bent. And come back to center. And making your way back to the top of the mat, walk your feet back up to meet your hands. With your inhale, float your heart forward. Keeping that length, draw up from your glutes through your belly all the way towards the crown of the head to extend. Taking the upper body to the left. Again, as you inhale, walk the upper body towards the left, extending forward through your spine, back through the right hip. And as you exhale, bow and fold. One more time. Upper body moves towards the right, left hip moves back behind. And then use that connecting back in towards center to bring your upper body in line with the legs. Bring the hands to the hips, inhale to rise. With your exhale, spiral in. With your inhale, stack the shoulders on top of the support of your core. As you take the arms up, grab a hold of the right wrist with the left hand. Send the hips towards the right, upper body towards the left. Hug in with the legs. Look towards your belly to lift the back ribs a little bit, and then reach out through the arms down into the ground. Make your way back up to center. Switch the clasp of the hands. Take the hips out towards the left, upper body over towards the right. And hug in with the outer hips here and see if you can use your exhales to help connect a little more deeply in so that you can extend a little more freely out. And come back up to center and use your exhale to fold. With your inhale, extend long. And bring your hands down. Make your way back, down dog. Step your right foot forward into a lunge. As you get the right ankle underneath the right knee, hug in with both legs, square your hips. Use that connection to rise. As you come up, root down into the left toes, send the left heel up towards the sky so that you're really moving the left femur bone back. And then draw the right hip back to meet it. When you're ready, take the arms up. Look in towards your belly here and find a balance between the front body and the back body so that right along the center, all the way up through the heart and the crown of the head, you start to create a sense of lightness and space. Root down through the legs. Your hands come to center, continuing to draw back through the right hip. Take the left elbow towards the outer edge of the right knee. Keep rooting down into the left toes, sending the left heel up towards the sky. And let the strength of your legs help you to lift your heart towards your thumbs. Expand the arms. As you bring that left hand down, it can come to the outer edge of the foot or it can come to the inside, whatever's more comfortable to you. And reaching back through the right hip, take the right arm up towards the sky. Turn the right palm forward. Extend out long through the right arm, back through the right hip and the left leg. And moving slow, spiral that right hand down to the mat, making space across the back. And shift back to downward facing dog. Taking the left side, the left foot come forward. Again, as you get the ankle underneath the knee, hug in with both legs. See if you can use your feet, activating the arches, connecting down through the heel, the base of the pinky toe, the base of the big toe, to turn on the legs. Keep using that right leg to send the right heel towards the sky. And when you're ready, rise. As you rise, you can start to work that left leg towards a square if that feels good to you, but keep the lightness for that right thigh. Release the hands. When you're ready, take the arms up. You can keep balancing front body and back body here. Let your gaze be in how your body feels on the inside so that you can keep creating that sense of lift and space. Draw the hands down to center. Use your exhale to take the twist. Right elbow comes to the outer edge of the left knee. Keep reaching that left hip back. When you're ready, you can expand the arms. Right hand moves down, left arm extends up towards the sky. Use your legs here to extend the low spine, and then turning that left palm forward, keep reaching back through the hips, forward through that top arm to broaden across your back. Moving slow, spiral the left hand down to the mat, and shift back, downward facing dog. Coming back to the right side, bring the right foot forward. Pivot the left heel down. Activate the arches of both feet, and especially in that left foot, let that lift of the arch bring lightness and space all the way up through the inner thigh so that you feel more supported into the outer hip. Use an inhale to rise, coming up into warrior two, checking to make sure that that right knee stays pointing forward. Coming to Parsvakonasana, bring the right forearm down onto the thigh. Take the left arm forward overhead. Press that right thigh up, right forearm down, and hug in with the outer edge of the left hip so that you can broaden deep inside the hips and expand a little more freely out from your center. If you'd like, you can soften the right fingers down to touch the mat and making sure that feels good for your hips and your back. Continuing to reach back through the right hip, forward maybe through the base of the knee and back through the right heel. Soften the left hand down. Switch back to the left side. Let the right heel come down. Again, establish a sense of connection from the ground into your center and your center back down into the earth. Then once you found a place that feels supported, rise, making your way up into warrior two. Hug in with the outer legs, root down through the heels, and keeping the front ribs softening in, lift through your heart. Moving into Parsvakonasana, left forearm comes down, right arm comes forward overhead. Press up through that left thigh, down through the left forearm to keep lengthening through both sides of the waist. And hug in with the outer edge of the right hip especially to keep a little more space through your back. Again, if it feels good, you can let the left fingers come down. Press that left shoulder into the inner edge of the knee and keep extending long through your spine. Ground the outer edge of that right foot down here. And bring the right hand down. Shift back, down dog. Coming back to the right side, bring the right foot forward. Left heel comes down. We're making our way back into that warrior two shape. Connect through the legs and rise. To work into the shoulders and the upper back, bring your hands back behind you. As you clasp the hands, activate the legs, look in towards your belly, and lift your back ribs up away from your hips. That'll help you to extend the center of your body. On top of that support, lift your heart, broaden the collarbones without letting the ribs glide forward so that you're really connected into the upper back. And then start to bow forward. As you bow, imagine the crown of your head extending down towards the mat as your arms reach up towards the sky. Keep a soft little bend at the elbows here so that the shoulder blades hug the upper back. Let your back leg be your anchor here. Hug that left foot forward and let that help you to stabilize the center of the body to extend the crown of your head towards the floor. To rise back up, keep that front knee bent if you can. Root down through the feet, coming back up. Release the arms. Bring the hands down. Switch to the other side. Left foot makes its way forward. Right heel pivots down. Connect through the feet all the way up into the center of the body. And from your low ribs and your outer hips, reground back down through the bones of the legs. And then rise. As you make your way into warrior two, take time to make sure you still feel the support of your feet and your legs, helping you to stay lifted through your chest. Bring the hands back behind your hips. As you interlace the fingers, again, look in towards your belly. Rather than rounding the back, use that to reach the sitting bones back and apart and to lift the back ribs up. Extending that space up through the center of the chest, keep the collarbones broadening. And keeping that left knee pointing forward, start to bow towards the inner edge of the left leg. As the crown of your head extends down, reach up through the arms so that your collarbones stay broad, shoulders stay connecting into the back. And use the grounded strength of that back right leg to help the crown of your head make its way towards the mat. Power up the legs. Keep the left knee bent if you can. Make your way back up. Warrior two. Then bring the hands down. Shift back. Downward facing dog. Taking one more standing pose, or one more standing series, we'll come straight into half moon pose. You can either step forward with the right foot and shift, or if you'd like to play, you can try hopping forward, letting that right foot come forward as the left leg rises, playing with allowing your body to find the pose in a different way. Make sure the right hand ends up about underneath the right shoulder, shifting forward with the upper body to let the left leg rise. Shift the left hand to your hip, bend a little into the right knee. Reach the right heel back. Let that help you to connect more deeply into the hip. And then around that support, work the right leg any amount towards straight as the left arm comes up towards the sky. Add the thigh stretch. Bend the left leg. With the left hand, catch the foot. Hug the left knee in a little bit so that you can activate the inner thighs and keep the inner thighs active as you kick the foot straight back behind you. Gently release. Bringing both hands down to the mat. As you bring the left hand down, square your hips, soften a little at the right knee. Reach the right heel back. Let that ground the right hip, and then work the leg towards straight. And then see if you can extend through the left leg. If you'd like, you can walk the left hand in a little bit. Bring the right thumb to your right hip crease. Keep drawing the right hip back. Turn your chest open towards the right. Maybe take the right arm up towards the sky. Maybe play with the Chapasana variation, bending the knee, catching the foot with your hand, kicking the foot up towards the sky. And release your hands down to the mat. Keep reaching the right hip, right heel back. Bow forward into standing splits. Sitting the left leg up as much as you can. Bring your upper body down towards the right leg. And then release that left foot down. Take a moment to rest. And then coming to the other side, step back to downward facing dog. Again, either step forward or float your way forward, playing with how you make your way into Ardha Chandrasana. Ground down through the left hand as well as the left foot, reaching the heel back. When you're ready, you can start to float that right hand up towards the sky. Adding the thigh stretch and bend into the right knee. Again, catching the foot, reaching that left heel back. Hug in with the right knee. Stay broad through your back, powerful through your center as you kick that right foot back behind you. Gently release. As you bring the right hand down, again, bend a little into the left knee. Focus on getting connected from that left femur bone up into the hip. Reach the heel back to ground that left hip and thigh back, and then work the left leg towards straight, controlling the movement of the hip forward, and start to extend into the right leg. Again, you can walk the right hand in, hook the left thumb at the hip crease, press the hip back. Keep working the hips towards square here, extending through the legs, Maybe turning the chest open. Maybe taking that left arm up towards the sky. Maybe playing with the thigh stretch. Chapasana variation, catching the foot, kicking it up towards the sky. Release the hands, unwinding. As you bring both hands down and bow in, again, bend a little into the left knee, reach the left heel, the left hip back, and use that to help you steady and align through the hips as you extend through both legs. And release that right foot down. Make your way back to a forward fold. With your inhale, extend forward and long. With your exhale, bow and fold. Taking the upper body to the left as you inhale. Extend the upper body forward towards the left, reaching the right hip back. And as you exhale, come back to center. One more time to the right. Walk the upper body to the right, extending forward through your heart, back through your hips. Exhale, bow and fold. Cross the right foot back behind the left. Bring the pinky toes either next to one another or bring a little space between the feet. Bend a little into the right knee. Ground the inner edge of the right foot down. And then keeping that connection, start to bring the inner edge of the left foot down as well. The more you bring the weight towards the right side, and the more you draw that left hip back, the more intense things will get through the outer edge of the hip and the thigh. Come back to center. Step the left foot back behind the right. Again, start with the left knee bent, ground down into the inner edge of the left foot, and then wrap the right leg around it. See if you can keep a little softness at the left knee so that you can keep drawing the left hip back rather than pressing the left knee back. Again, grounding the inner edge of the left foot, balance out the work across the hips. The feet make their way back to parallel. And then make your way back into downward facing dog. From your down dog, lower your knees. Opening into the shoulders, bring the forearms down. Bring the palms and the elbows together to touch as if you were making one forearm. Hug the elbows in and ground them down. Notice whether you work evenly between the right and left. See if you can reach both elbows evenly down into the ground. Walk the knees back a little bit. Use the connection of the elbows down to keep the shoulders and the ribs rising up. And without letting the elbows slide apart, start to reach your hips back towards your heels. You'll notice as you do this that the ribs like to collapse towards the ground. Hug in with the elbows. Hug in with the outer hips and let that help you to find a place that feels long and connected along your spine. Come back up. Take the elbows apart. Bring the palms of the hands together in the center. And then shift back so that you're at the back of the elbows. You may need to walk your knees back a little further as you do this. Keeping the palms together, let your forehead come down towards the mat. Or if your forehead doesn't touch, feel free to bring a block or a blanket underneath it for support so that your neck can stay soft. Press the elbows down into the mat and lift through the inner shoulder so that you're making space around the base of the neck. Continuing to press the elbows down, fold your hands back towards the back of your head and your neck. And hugging in with the outer hips to keep that connection through the ribs, reach your hips back as well. Keep pulling the elbows down towards the mat here so that they're not sliding apart. And use that to help you open into the upper back. to bring a little more space across the top of the shoulders. Press the fingertips together, and as if you were holding a ball in your hands, move the palms of your hands apart like you were making a cage. Keep pressing the elbows down and broaden the shoulders away from the base of the neck. And release. Use your hands to come all the way back up to table. Moving towards pigeon. Draw the right shin forward so that the knee comes behind the right wrist. Shift the right shin forward any amount that feels right for you. The more the shin comes towards parallel with the front edge of the mat, the more intense things will be in the outer hip. So if things feel too intense, draw the right heel closer towards you. Hug in with the outer hips. Use that to help you lift a little bit away from the mat, and then start to inch back with the left leg. As you inch back, you may find that brings that right shin more towards parallel with the front edge of the mat. Again, that makes the work more intense for the outer hips. And keep hugging in with both legs so that you stay a little lighter, a little more spacious through the hips and the back. And come down to your forearms. Make sure there's no pain here through the knees. Keep flexing the right foot and even lifting the right heel a little bit up away from the mat to help keep things aligned through the knee joint, to keep the focus in the hips, backing off if there's any pain at the knee. Hug in again with the legs. Let that help you to reach the spine a little longer, as if you had an imaginary tail, extending it back behind you. And use your hands and forearms on the mat to help you move forward through the upper body. If you're at your edge, stay right here. If you have the space to go deeper, come back up onto the hands. Either bring the left elbow to the center of the mat, stack both palms, come into a prayer twist towards the right. Or if you have the space to do so, come a little deeper into the twist by threading the left arm back behind the right and bringing the left side of the head and the left shoulder all the way down to the ground. Whichever variation you're taking, hug in with both hips, reach back, especially through the right hip, and maybe turn your chest open a little more fully towards the right, grounding that left shoulder back and down. The twist adds a lot more intensity into the work in the hips, so come in a way that feels good to you, being mindful of your knees, of your back, and of course of the intensity of the stretch. After you've taken a couple of breaths, unwind and shift back either to table or to downward facing dog to take the other side. Shift the left knee forward. Again, let it start by coming wider than the hip behind the left wrist, and let that left shin shift forward if you need a deeper, more intense stretch. Let the left heel draw in towards you if you need less intensity or if there's any pain in the knee. Hug in with both shins. Reach the left hip back, squaring the hips. Maybe walk back a little with the right foot, noticing how the hips like to shift. Keep drawing the left hip strongly and firmly back behind you. Again, staying active with that left leg. Start to come down onto your forearms. Flexing the foot, lifting the left heel, even pressing the top of the foot down into the mat, if that's the orientation that your foot finds in this position, are all ways to help keep the leg active and strong so that the knee stays aligned and the work stays focused in the outer edge of the left hip. Hug in again with the legs, and again, as if you had an imaginary tail, reach back through the lower part of the spine. And use the connection of your hands and forearms down onto the mat to help you lengthen out through the crown of your head. Keeping the strength and support in the knee, either staying where you are, coming into a prayer twist, bringing the right elbow to the center of the mat, stacking the palms, or threading the right arm back behind the left, bringing the right shoulder, the right side of the head down to the mat. Hug in with both legs, keep reaching the left hip back. Ground the right arm and shoulder down, maybe turn a little more deeply into the twist through the upper body. Gently unwind. Release back to downward facing dog. Bring your knees down to the mat. Bring both forearms down onto the mat. Setting up for dolphin pose. Bring the palms together, interlace the fingers. Check in with the elbows. Make sure they're shoulder width distance apart so that the elbows are right underneath the shoulders. Hug in with both elbows and press down through the outer edge of your forearms until you feel the muscles in your shoulders turn on. Broaden the collarbones here, and as the elbows hug in, melt the back of your heart. You should feel your shoulder blades glide towards your spine. As you expand across your chest and power up your upper back, draw the low ribs in, hug in with the outer hips, and let that help you to extend long through your spine. So that again, if you had an imaginary tail, it would be reaching back behind you. Keeping this power and support, tuck the toes, lift the hips up. Taking a couple dolphin push-ups, keep hugging the elbows in, broadening across the collarbones. Shift forward to touch your chin or your nose to your thumbs. And use the strength of your core to take your hips up and back. Take a couple cycles here. If you'd like a challenge, taking 2 more cycles, you can shift forward to touch the mat. Again, finding whatever amount of intensity feels good for you. Taking 1 more if you'd like. And then release the knees. Come all the way to child's pose. Let the arms soften. Forehead come down to the mat. Or if child's isn't comfortable for you, take whatever variation allows you to rest. Make your way back up. Bringing a little work into the upper back. Come up onto your fingertips, taking the hands a little wider. We're going to work curling the shoulder blade tips into the back of the heart to try to bring the center of the chest down towards the back. To do this means we have to really work first on supporting and stabilizing our low backs so that we're working into the upper part of the spine rather than collapsing through the lumbar spine. First, once you found a place that feels steady for the legs, you can let your knees be about hip width distance apart. Hug in with the outer hips. If you have a block, that can be really helpful here to really turn on the inner thighs and to stabilize your lower spine by hugging in from all 4 sides, from the back, the front, the right, and the left. As you find a place that feels steady and strong, come up onto your fingertips. That helps you to get more action and connection into the upper back. Keeping the steady support of the low back, draw your shoulders towards your ears. Melt the back of your heart so that the shoulder blades hug the upper back. And hugging in with the legs, balance the front body and the back body. Let the back ribs lift a little away from the hips and the front ribs soften in and down. Now, keeping all of this work, start to curl into the upper back. Imagine the shoulder blades were like hands. Keep using the support of your core to stay long through the back. And let this curl of these hands into the back of the heart help you to open through the chest. Maybe your chin comes down. Maybe it stays lifted. If you're really open into the back, maybe you can get your heart to come down as well. Give yourself a couple of breaths, keeping the hips as stacked over the knees as you can. And then pressing into your hands. Make your way back up. And take a moment to sit the hips back towards the heels, or to bring the forehead all the way down into the mat. Again, taking a moment to pause and rest. We're going to use that opening into the back and that connection of the shoulder blades onto the back body to play with coming towards pincha mayurasana, forearm stand. We'll work the toes down on the ground. If you know the variation where you start to lift towards full pincha, taking one leg up, maybe playing with both legs coming up, you can feel free to add that into your practice. Start with the forearms down on the mat and the knees about underneath the hips. To really get connection into the upper back, to add that upper back bend, we need the side body to be long. That means the hips need to reach back as the shoulders and the ribs extend forward. Hug in with the outer hips, activate the inner thighs, and draw your shoulders towards your ears. So if you were taking a huge shrug, broaden the collarbones and soften the back of the heart. You should feel your shoulder blades really connect deeply onto the upper back. Draw in with the top of your throat until you feel the back of your head rise up away from the mat. And use that to help support from deep inside the center of the body so that as your heart softens, you stay connected along your spine. Keep the elbows hugging in, collarbones broadening, shoulder blades supporting the space across your chest. Staying strong with the center, keeping the shoulders stacking over the elbows, tuck the toes, and start to lift your hips up towards the sky. As you lift up, as you start to work into the shoulders, look forward very gently, keeping the top of the throat drawing in, maybe even looking towards your toes if that helps you to stay more connected. And walk the feet in, shifting the weight forward towards your fingers. Find your edge. Maybe that's taking a leg up towards the sky. Maybe that's hugging in, playing with taking a couple little hops. And then when you're ready, come all the way down to rest. Take a second set coming through whatever your variation of pincha looks like. Bringing the forearms down, hugging in with the elbows, finding that balance, softening the heart, drawing the shoulders towards the ears as you reach the hips back. As you get steady and connected through the shoulders, tuck the toes, take the hips up. This time, as you walk in, you'll take the opposite leg up towards the sky. And then release the right leg or the left leg down. And soften to rest. To release through the shoulders and the inner chest, make your way to seated. Bring the soles of the feet forward in front of you, soles of the feet down to the mat, the feet hip-width distance apart, parallel to one another. Bring the hands back behind you, pointing the fingertips towards your heels. Ground down through your sitting bones, lengthen through the side body, and guide the heads of the arm bones back. Turn on the center of your body here by hugging in with the outer hips, broadening the inner thighs, lengthening up through your heart and the crown of your head. Keeping the spine feeling long and integrated, root down into the feet to take the hips up, coming into reverse table. Press the palms down here. Hug in with the outer hips, letting the hips, your chest, come more in line with one another. And either keep the chin drawn in towards your chest, or let the head soften back, whichever feels more comfortable to you. Give yourself a couple of breaths. And with control, let your hips come back down to the mat and come to seated. To release any remaining tension across the neck and the upper back, take the arms out towards the sides, come into eagle arms. Cross the left elbow underneath the right, bring the palms together, backs of the hands together, or maybe only the elbows together. Press the top elbow down onto the bottom elbow, soften the low ribs in, and lift your heart, letting the shoulders melt back. Very gently turn your head towards the right and towards the left. As if we were watching a super slow motion match of tennis. And your head just gently glide from side to side. Go more time to each side. And then as your head comes back to center, curl your elbows in towards your belly. Let that help you to broaden and expand across the upper back. Root down through the sitting bones, lifting the back ribs. Release. Unwind the arms. And take the opposite cross, taking the right elbow underneath the left. Again, find a place that brings the right amount of intensity across the shoulders, backing off, wrapping more tightly as that feels good to you. Root the top elbow, the left elbow down into the bottom elbow. And again, see if you can find a balance between front body and back body so that the shoulders feel like they naturally connect into the shoulder sockets and your back. And then floating your head from side to side, let your head turn towards the left, moving slow. Going as slowly as you can, let your gaze float over towards the right. As you let your head float from side to side, keep hugging your arms towards one another and lengthening up through your spine, down through your sitting bones towards the mat. Go one more time to each side. And then letting your head come back to center, round in. As you draw your elbows towards your belly button, lift up through your chest, down through the sitting bones, broaden across the upper back. Release, unwind the arms. Taking one more release for the shoulders and the back. The knees come back up. Extend the right leg out long. Bend the left leg. And with your right hand, reach across for the outer edge of the left foot. Pick the foot up. Shift the left hand back behind you as if you were coming into a twist. Start to press your foot and your hand into one another. And start to extend that left leg any amount. You'll find that draws you into a little bit of a twist towards the left. Here, experiment. Draw back a little with your chest. Maybe turn your gaze towards your outstretched left leg until you start to feel a stretch across the upper back. Keep rooting down through the sitting bones, lifting up through the heart and chest so that you stay long through the spine as you broaden across the upper back. Give yourself a couple of breaths here. And then gently release. Extend the left leg out long. Bend into the right knee. This time the left hand reaches for the outer edge of the right foot. As you pick it up, shift the right hand back behind you. Let that help you to sit tall from your sitting bones. And then start to extend out through the right leg, pressing the left hand, the right foot into one another. Again, maybe it feels best to twist a little more deeply. Maybe it feels better to draw back through your chest. Maybe it's turning your gaze towards your foot or some other small adjustment you take to help find the space where the back body feels like it's broadening and expanding, especially between the shoulder blades. As you take another breath or two, lengthen your spine. See if you can let both hips ground down to help you extend up. And gently release the foot. Make your way back towards center. Working towards a stretch for the thighs, come back to a tabletop position. Keeping the left knee down on the mat, step the right foot forward. If you know your knee likes extra padding, fold the edge of the mat, maybe even folding it twice if you've got a super thin mat like mine, making a cushion for the kneecap so that the pressure down onto the floor doesn't feel so uncomfortable. To support the knee, especially on the left side, press down into the toes and extend up through that left heel so that you're really activating the left leg and connecting it deep into the hips so that that connection down through the left knee is a little lighter, a little more supported by the earth. We'll take our thigh stretch this time in the lizard pose shape. So bring both hands to the inside of the right leg, walking that right foot wider if you need to create the space to stay open and expanded across your chest. And then shifting forward a little so the weight's not right on the kneecap. Bend the left leg, and with the right hand, reach back to catch your foot. Or use a strap here if you need, throwing the loop around the foot. Activate the foot, keep pressing down through the right foot and activating the left one, reaching your left heel, your left sitting bone towards one another. Square your chest towards the floor here. If you have deeper to go, you can bring the left forearm down onto the ground or simply bend into the elbow. The more you shift forward through your hips, keeping the heel and the sitting bone close, the more intensity you'll feel through the thigh. Keep hugging in with both legs and lengthening your spine. As you start to approach whatever your edge feels like for you, look forward really gently with your gaze, not to crane your neck, but to extend a little more freely out from the center of the body, and then reach back and down through your legs. Keep using the power of the legs here to stay light and extended through your spine. We're going to take another 3 or 4 deep breaths here. And gently release the foot as it softens down. Make your way back up and release back to tabletop position. Switching to the second side, left foot will come forward, right knee will come down. Again, add extra padding if you like, making a little cushion for the kneecap. And as you set up the legs, make sure you've ended up with the legs in line with the hips. Bring both hands to the inside of the left leg, just as you did on the other side. Again, making space if you need. And hugging in with both legs, square your hips and use the strength of the right leg to lighten the connection at the knee. So that the whole fabric of the leg is sharing that work of supporting the body. When you feel like you're ready, again, shifting forward a little to take the weight off the kneecap if you need, bend the right leg and reach back with the left hand to catch the foot. Click the toes back to your hand. Connect the heel and the sitting bone towards one another, using a strap if you need, finding a position that feels comfortable above the knee at the base of the thigh. Keeping the hips squaring as best you can, squaring your chest towards the mat. Again, if you have deeper to go, you can bend into the elbow. You can bring the forearm all the way down to touch the mat. Keep reaching the right heel and the right sitting bone towards one another so that you use the strength of the leg to stay light through the knee. And again, as you approach your edge, look forward very sweetly with your gaze. Let that help you to reach long through your heart, the center of your chest, and extend back and down through the bones of the legs, unwinding not just through the muscles of the thigh, but through all those connections up into the center of the body. Give yourself another 3 or 4 deep breaths here. Keep hugging in with the outer hips, lengthening your spine in both directions. Gently release your foot. Again, use your hands to help you rise back up. We're going to come back to that work we did earlier in class, curling into the upper back as our back bends. Again, as we set ourselves up before, let the knees stack underneath the hips. Connect in with the outer hips, activating the inner thighs, finding a place where you feel long and supported through the low spine. Should feel like your belly draws in and the top of your sacrum feels like it connects towards the center of the body so that your back is both broad and powerful. Let the hands come a little wider. As the hips reach back, lengthen the side body, drawing the ribs, the shoulders towards your ears. Keeping control of the low ribs, melt your heart. Feel the shoulder blades hug towards the upper back. Use the strength of your inner thighs to help draw the low ribs in to meet them. And then start to curl. As you draw the shoulder blades towards the back of the heart, keep reaching your low ribs towards your pubic bone and start to aim your chest down towards the mat. Keep the shoulders moving away from the ground here. Again, taking a couple of breaths, curling into the upper back, keeping the low back nice and long. And gently release. Come back to tabletop. Pause just to rest. We're going to take that action one more time. If you would prefer to take your back bends as a bridge or some other form of back bend, please feel free to substitute an alternate pose. Coming back up onto the fingertips. Again, hug in with the legs, activate the inner thighs. I find that for me, this helps me to really target the work that I need in my core to stabilize my low back and to curl more deeply into the upper back than I get when I work from the mat. Lengthen the side body. Glide the heads of the arm bones back. As you broaden the collarbones, feel how that helps you to draw the tips of the shoulder blades towards one another. Into that support, activate the inner thighs again. Let that help you to soften the front ribs in and down and to balance the front and back sides of the body. It should feel like your upper back muscles are working powerfully. Keep using the arches of your hands to stay connected into the upper back and start to curl. Again, we're working here to bring movement into the upper back. Keep the collarbones broad. Draw the top of the throat in. See if you can get maybe your chin, maybe your chest to come down towards the mat. Give yourself a couple of breaths here. Working your heart towards the floor. And then pressing with your hands, rise back up. Again, bring the palms back down, pause to rest. We'll take one final back bend, this time from our backs. As you come down, bring the soles of the feet down to the mat, bending the knees, placing the soles of the feet down, hip width distance apart with the feet parallel to one another. If your back feels warm enough for a wheel, that's the direction to head. If you feel like your back is more in a bridge position, you'll start with robot arms. If you're setting yourself up for a wheel, start with this robot arm shape and then connect deeply into the upper back. For both variations, activate the right hand. See if you were holding a ball in your hand, just as when you made those tents on the mat. Let that help you to connect into the upper back. Scoop that hand towards you, feeling the shoulder blade hug a little more deeply into the back. And either bring the palm parallel, or if you're playing with wheel, place that hand down to the mat, keeping the connection in the upper back. Coming to the left side, activate the hand, scoop the palm towards you, and replace the hand down if you're coming into the wheel, or bring both palms facing towards you if you're coming into bridge. Notice how this action here is very much like the press of the shoulder blades into the upper back that we were just working facing the mat. Keep the shoulder blades hugging in. Reach your front ribs towards your pubic bone. Let your back ribs, your tailbone feel like they extend apart. And then working in reverse, we'll lift our hearts up towards the sky, aiming to find that same curl into the upper back. Keeping the shoulder blades hugging into the upper back, activate the legs. Use that to turn on the core, setting the sitting bones back and apart. Draw up from your glutes, from your thigh muscles into the low ribs, and let that help you to lift your hips. If you're coming into wheel, press into the hands, maybe coming to the crown of the head, reaching the shoulders back, maybe scooping up your heart, lifting your chest. Maybe walk your feet in if you're working more deeply into your wheel. Broaden the collarbones, scoop up your heart with your shoulder blades. And then coming back down, make sure you land on the backs of the shoulders and let your hips come all the way down to rest. Soften your arms down by your sides. Pause to take a couple deep breaths. releasing into the inner shoulders. Extend the right hand and the left hand out in line with the shoulders like you're making a T. Ground the right shoulder back and down. Turn your head towards the left and reach out with the right arm, letting the head, the hand soften apart from one another. Let your head come back to center. Ground the left shoulder back and down. Let your head turn towards the right and reach out through the left hand. Come back to center. Let your feet come a little wider apart, mat width distance. And coming into windshield wipers, let the knees soften over towards the right. You want the left knee to end up roughly in line with the left hip. Adjust if you need to. And if it feels good, you can add the weight of the right ankle on top of the left knee. Start to bring your arms overhead and either hold on at the wrists, that's a little softer for the shoulders, or tuck the points of the elbows into the palms of the hands. It's a little more intense for the shoulders. Finding a place that feels right. Whichever arm variation you're taking, hold on with the hands and sweetly broaden the elbows out towards the sides so that the shoulders are moving away from the base of the neck. Let each exhale help you to soften and extend a little more freely through the legs down towards the ground. And let each inhale help you to extend a little bit more through the crown of your head, out through your elbows. Let the arms rise up. Switch the cross so the opposite forearm is on top. Let the arms come back overhead. And then release the ankle from the knee if you've drawn it in. Let both knees come back up towards the sky. And then reverse the direction. The knees make their way over towards the left. This right knee, both knees may be lifted. They may soften all the way down. Again, if it feels good, you can add a little extra weight, extending that right leg out from the right hip by bringing the left ankle on top of it. Whichever arm variation you're using, points of the elbows and the hands are holding on closer to the wrist. Let your hands provide a little resistance so you can broaden the elbows apart. Let that help you to create space across the upper back. Gently release. Let the knees rise back up towards the sky. Expanding through the backs of the legs. Let the right leg extend out long. Draw your left knee in towards you. First, take the legs in opposite directions. Let your hands rest onto your shin or onto your knee. Let the weight of the arms soften that leg in towards the chest. And focus on reaching out long through the inner edge of the right leg, from the inner thigh all the way through the inner heel. Then reach that left sitting bone towards your left heel so that you're balancing both sides of the back as the legs go in opposite directions. Switch the clasp of the hands back behind the legs now. Press that left thigh into your hands. As you press the thigh into your hands, you should feel a little space open at the front of the hips, and the femur bone soften back. If it helps you, you can continue to reach the left sitting bone towards the left heel. Keeping the femur bone grounding back, start to extend the sole of the foot up towards the sky. Work both actions to the best of your ability here, grounding the thigh back as you extend up through the heel, letting the leg shake if it needs to. As you feel your way in, see if you can keep reaching the outer edge of your left hip away from you, both to keep the femur bone grounded and to keep the back lengthened and expanded. Rebend the left knee. Bring your left hand onto your left knee, right hand onto your right thigh. Hug in with the outer hips here until you find a place that feels supported from your center so that you can really anchor the right hip down and start to guide the left knee over towards the left. As it comes towards the side, you'll feel that that right hip wants to rise up. Resist the tendency to tip towards the left. Keep your hips, the back of the right leg grounding down to support the work in the inner thigh on the left side. Guide the left knee back up. Use the right hand to guide the left knee across. As you start to bring the leg across, hook your left thumb right at the top of the left thigh, right in the hip crease. Press that hip away from you as you roll towards the right so that you're staying long and expanded on the left side. If it feels good, you can let that left knee come all the way down to the right or back off wherever you need to be comfortable through the back. Ground down through the outer edge of the right hip. Let that help you to stack the left hip on top of the right. You can keep the left hand on your body if that's comfortable, letting the left shoulder back. Or if it feels better, you can let the left arm extend back behind you, turning your chest, your lower body in opposite directions, making sure your back feels good here, keeping that connection down through the right thigh to help support and provide space for the back. Release. Let that left leg extend all the way out long. As you extend, especially because of the twist, notice whether you've moved out of alignment with your own center, coming back to a place that feels balanced. And then taking the right side, keep the left leg extending long, draw the right knee in. And let your hands rest on your shin or on your knee. Let the weight of the arms melt the right leg towards you as you extend the left leg away. Just as you did on the other side, from the inner thigh on the left leg all the way through the left heel, reach away. Reach that right sitting bone towards your right heel until you find a place that feels balanced. When you're ready, switch the clasp of the hands back behind the leg and press the thigh back into your hands. Notice how that action is very much like reaching the sitting bone towards the heel, continuing to keep that space through the back. And keeping that right femur bone grounded, start to extend the sole of the foot up towards the sky. Notice whether that right hip wants to hike up. Keep reaching it away from you. Let that grounding of the femur bone help to balance the stretch through the hips and the legs. Rebend the right knee. Bring the right hand to the knee, left hand to the left thigh or left hip. Again, use that left hand to remind the left side to ground down. And let the right hand guide the right knee over towards the right without tipping or dropping your weight over towards the right side. Guide the right knee back up towards center. Again, bringing the left hand onto the left knee. Hook your thumb in the right hip crease. Use that to help you extend both sides of the waist. And guide that right leg across and over towards the left. Again, how far you come into the twist is about what feels best for your body. Make sure your low back feels good. Root down through the outer edge of the left hip and left thigh. That'd help you to create a sense of space through the center of the body, letting the hips move towards stacked if that feels good. And either letting the right hand rest on your body and softening the right shoulder back, or extending the right arm out towards the sides. Feel your way into the right amount of twist for you. And gently release. And come all the way to rest on your back again. Taking one final twist. Just as you did at the beginning of class, draw the knees back in. Wrap your arms around them, again, pressing the shins into your hands, hands into the shins. Noticing whether this feels different from the beginning of class, taking the time to really balance out front and back, right and left, till your body feels steady and supported from your center. Release the arms out towards the sides, again, T or a cactus position, whatever feels best for the shoulder. Ground the right shoulder back and down, hugging in with the outer legs. Let the knees spiral their way over towards the left. And keeping the shoulder down as you rotate. Use an exhale to ground down through your belly, drawing the knees back up towards the sky. Root the left shoulder back and down, keeping the outer hips hugging in so that the inner body stays bright and supported. Take the knees over towards the right. Use an exhale to guide the knees back up. One final time, rooting the right shoulder back and down, creating space and support for your back first. Rotate the lower body towards the left. Keep the right shoulder reaching back and down. One final time, the knees rise. Left shoulder grounds back and down. Outer hips hug in to keep the inner body bright. Let the knees rotate towards the right. Keep grounding the left shoulder back and down so you're extending both sides of the waist. And ground down to bring the knees back up. And finally, extend the legs out long and make your way towards Shavasana. As always, if there are any last movements or poses that your body is calling out for to be able to soften fully into the mat, please take them so that as you make your way into Shavasana, you can let this outermost layer of skin and muscles and bones soften completely into the floor. Close your eyes and start to feel back into your breath. Take a breath in through your nose. And very sweetly exhale out through your mouth. Two more times. Breathe in through your nose. Out through your mouth. Last time, in through your nose. Out through your mouth. Let go into the support of the mat. As you continue to deepen your connection towards the flow of your breath, each inhale become the seed for your exhale. Each exhale, the seed for your inhale. Let this dance of breath flow through your body. Starting to bring the vibration of your body, the vibration of your breath, the rhythm of your heart into harmony with one another. Let this flow of your breath start to become a river. And let that flow travel through the fabric of your mind so that whenever thoughts come, you can bring your attention back into the flow of your breath. And let that carry the thought on its way so that you can continue to redirect and refocus your attention into the brightness and space of your inner body, to the lightness, the power of your own heart. Very, very sweetly begin to deepen your breathing. And let your breath bring you back up towards the surface. Bring a little gentle movement back into your body, wiggling your fingers and your toes. When you're ready, let that evolve into a full body stretch. Reaching out through the arms, down through the legs, moving in any way that feels good to your body. And then bend your knees. Make your way over onto your right side and pause. Let your head soften down onto your arms or onto your mat. And stay soft with the flow of your breath. And then use your hands to help you come all the way up to a seated position. Sitting in any way that feels comfortable for you, using a block if that feels good. As you find a comfortable seat, sit tall, lengthening up through the crown of the head, grounding down into the earth. Finding a place where you feel balanced and supported through the integration of those opposite points. Let your hands come together in front of your heart. Bow your head towards your heart. Thank yourself for making time to practice. And then bring your thumbs to your third eye and bow forward to close your practice. Namaste.